Welcome to the Hiring and Empowering Solutions podcast. This podcast is dedicated to providing the key ingredients to transform your employees into a dream team, creating consistent results in every aspect of your business, including your people, your process, and your profits. Your team empowerment, leadership, business development, communication, hiring, and firing. As some of the country's leading staffing and management consultants, we help business owners, i.e. entrepreneurs, and the team that support them, what we call intrapreneurs, to powerfully connect and work together to grow the business. Hello, and welcome to today's episode, 9 Ways to Support and Protect Your Boss's Time and Energy. And today we're going to talk about and what's in it for you as an employee to do so. My name's Molly McGrath, co-founder of the Hiring and Empowering Solutions podcast. So let's dive right in. I really want to talk about what I love about this conversation. It's truly a how-to guide to leadership. It allows for intentional techniques to really have that honest, respectful, effective keys to support the attorney and the team member on a daily basis and to boost everyone's value creation, efficiency, and productivity. One of my favorite quotes around this is from an astronaut, Chris Hadfield, and it says, ultimately, leadership is not about doing glorious crowning acts. It's about keeping your team focused on a goal and motivated to do their best to achieve it, especially when the stakes are high and the consequences really matter. It's about laying the groundwork for others' success and then standing back and letting them shine. Oh, I love that one. That quote really sums up perfectly what we consider effective leadership. You've heard us talking about that if you've been following our blogs or reading any of our books over the past 11 or so years. You know that's what we take a really strong stand for, an unwavering stand for. But what specifically does it take from an entrepreneur's perspective to keep your team focused and motivated? So whether you're the team leader, COO, CEO, law firm administrator, whatever terminology you use. A lot of people use office manager. Or if you're the entrepreneur, the attorney, the boss, etc. Today, we're going to talk about 9 ideas and strategies that in our long experience of working with small solo law firms for the past 22 years have consistently shown results. There's absolutely proof of concept around those. So let's dive in. Let's just hit it here. So let's talk about number 1, the way to support and protect your attorney's back, time, and energy. What we say is number 1 is really to be able to experience the mission, vision, and values of the company. When people bring on new employees and they hire them, we'll get phone calls and say, what do I do with them? Like, what do I do on day 1, week 1 with them? What we recommend is that regardless if the receptionist or the associate attorney or paralegal, paraprofessional, legal assistant, whatever position they're sitting in, the process is the same for onboarding and training. We recommend that new employee or existing employees that maybe haven't gone through this process, if they haven't been through any of our academies, is that they attend every meeting with prospective and existing clients and power partners and referral sources. If your business conducts workshops or any community events, speaking events, things of those nature, have them attend those as well. There is a best way for them to get it in their bones and in their belly to be able to experience. When people can experience the culture of your business, experience anything really, then they can know every step of your process from what it takes to get the phone to ring, i.e. marketing, and moving clients through your system and or your process. I mean, think about it. I always use this analogy. You can sit on the couch and read a manual all day long about how to ride a bike, But it is not until you walk down the stairs, get in the garage, and you actually get on the bike and you figure out, okay, what's step one? Put your one foot on the pedal, usually your left foot on the pedal, then put your right foot on the pedal. And maybe step one might be putting the kickstand up, depending on what kind of bike you have, what kind of manual you have. And it's not until you start actually getting on the bike and experiencing it and doing it that all the dots start to click, that things start to solidify for you. So often when people hire new employees, what they'll do is put them in front of a computer, watch all these training videos, hand them an employee manual, hand them a process manual, depending on what role they're serving in. And then at the end of the day, they're like, how'd it go? Oh, it went great. What'd you learn? They might say X, Y, and Z, but then it's not until then they put them on another training video, or have them sit there and shadow somebody. And it's very difficult at the end of that time to be able to communicate the mission, vision, and values of the company, and really, truly, at the end of the day, the end user, which is the client, and what their experience is. And we tell this story all the time when Lainey had hired a funding coordinator, and the attorney was so frustrated with her because he had put her in front of the best training with Funding Pro, and then he had put her in front of videos. He hands a big fat white binder to her and says, here's exactly how to do funding. And if anyone's done funding, there is no fun in funding. It's very, very comprehensive and a lot of moving parts. And it wasn't until it was consistently coming into Lainey's office like, she's got to go. We got to fire her. She's not getting it. She keeps asking me the same questions. She's not understanding it, blah, blah, blah. And Lainey had come up with this genius idea where she said, time out. We're actually going to have her sit through every funding meeting on the calendar this week. And she's going to go in there with the funding file so she can actually see, touch, and feel that. Then she's going to be able to watch your interaction and watch your introduction of the funding summary and the different pieces that you're using. And then when you're using them, what information you're gathering, things of that nature, watch the client's experience. And then from there, we're going to debrief with her. And it was fascinating because the employee was in tears at the end of the meeting and said, I had absolutely no idea this is what we do for clients. She was understanding the steps of the part of the process and she was getting it, but it wasn't until she saw the mission, vision, values in play and understanding the impact on the clients and watching the attorney do their magic. And it truly is like brain surgery, and being able to talk about the funding summary and saying, okay, great, let me take all this, and then seeing the interaction with the client and bringing everything over and seeing the why they do what they do with the assets, why they do what they do with the implementation within the form, etc. So I say that as number one, to be able to, from when you are bringing on new employees, if you have problematic employees or people who aren't getting it, this is a huge booster shot and a drive-by coaching tip. Take them in and have them start experiencing every single meeting from meeting number one to the closing of the file, so they can see the entire, it's like a stage performance. It's like a theater production, so they can see it from curtain up to curtain closing. And I promise you that they will be able to experience that and then really understand the why, in addition to understanding all the different roles that each person plays and what their job is within getting that comprehensive plan out there, whatever kind of business that you do or area of law that you might practice. So that's number one, experiencing the mission, vision, values of the company. Number two is permission standards. Permission standards help you define standard answers for the most common problems that generally block your workflow. These allow for you to solve problems or answer a question immediately in real time without having to ask your boss for a decision and cause a slowdown or a bottleneck or inconsistency or things falling through the cracks. For example, it's really common to have to go to your boss when a client asks for a discount. This is a common one we hear quite often. And this either takes too long to get an answer or invites a discussion of pricing, neither of which you wanted. And 9 out of 10 times, you lose a client in the meantime, or the boss wants to get on the phone with the client and they overcomplicate it. And then next thing you know, mood billing comes into play. And a lot of times it's based on that answer could be based on how much money we either do or do not have in the bank. So if you don't want to have to constantly ask for permission to give discounts, to make some crisis or emergency appointments in the calendar, to have the boss stay late, whatever those are common ones that we see, to be able to approve X, Y, and Z for employees or supplies or whatever it means. Create standards, which are rules. And these are like hard, fast rules, or think of them as systems or process that you have permission to follow without checking with your boss. Perhaps you can agree that you are allowed to offer up to a 10% discount if appropriate without asking. This allows for a quicker response to a potential client, avoids the pitfall of constantly recreating your pricing, or perhaps you have to check with your boss on whom to refer people to for different types of services if you don't do that type of service within your practice, within your business. Instead, create a list of approved referrals that you can use without having to ask, which they'll be so grateful and appreciative when they get out of back-to-back meetings that they don't have 10-5 questions from you and or additional phone calls that they have to return. So for 2 weeks, keep a list of questions that you ask for your boss. Then choose the most common ones and create standards around them. And you will find your frustration drastically reduce as you are able to respond to situations so much faster and avoid having to put things on hold. So permission standards also allow you to consistently respond to situations and not recreate and reinvent the wheel. Make sure you set boundaries and hold to them. Be clear about what you will and won't do. For example, when you are in the middle of your marketing huddle and your boss starts checking email or Google searching a topic, your discussion, remind him or her that they wanted you to be productive. And could you use those 10 minutes to get work done for them? And when they open their browser, just honest, well, respectfully and politely remind them of the boundaries. And not dramatically. You just really want to say, all right, these are our standards. We have 10 minutes remaining in this meeting. We have 14 things that we need to cover. My job is to be your accountability, your production cop, and make certain that we get everything touched and discussed, because I'm not going to meet with you again for next week. You're back to back to back. You're on vacation for 2 days, whatever it might be. But some people will have fun with this and they'll have like a little whistle and tell them, the flag on the play or whatever it is, whatever works for you. But for you, it's your job to not tolerating violation and going outside these boundaries, because it doesn't serve your boss, you, your firm, your bottom line, anything that you need. So really getting clear on this one, number 2, of permission standards and where you have standards. And it also, another really great bonus that comes out of this is clarity on your role as well. So being really clear on what your goals are from each side, and then what our standards are going to be around a big one that a lot of people, like I just used in that example, is how we're going to operate meetings, how we're going to run them, who's going to run them, and what's going to be on the agenda. Can't say enough about that's a permission standard I would absolutely implement, is making certain we never ever have a meeting without an agenda, and that it's ran by somebody other than the attorney, so they have the freedom to just show up there and be that expert, that coach, and that mentor. Number 3 is run the day. Take ownership of the entire day as the employee. This is one of the ones that we get the most comments on, where the entrepreneurs are just over the moon when somebody other than them is willing and able to run the day and has a capability to do so. This means just knowing what's on the calendar, what's coming at you, your team, and your boss. If your boss is back to back to back with meetings, make certain to provide food, water, whatever special items they like and need, so they can keep their energy up, focus on their point and their goals throughout the day, which impacts the bottom line and makes the difference of getting hired, diffusing any kind of client crises or emergencies or complaints, etc. For example, suggest you take over your boss's email and voicemail. This is a big one that really a top priority, and it's the biggest energy suckers for entrepreneurs. We understand this looks like more work for you, but think about it. It's the same amount of time you spend tracking things down, going back and forth with communication ping pong with the clients and the boss. And if you can be the point of contact and you can manage requests and expectations, you will always know the state of the union, and you won't be caught off guard with requests. You won't be CC'd on 10 million emails. You'll be able to plug this into their end-of-day call log, whatever it might be, rather than your boss having to email exchange with the client, promising something they can't fit in their schedule. And you can instead take the initiative and talk to the client, clarify the project, schedule a meeting or appropriate next action that fits into everyone's schedule, pull the file for the client, let the client know the expectations. The attorney has 15 minutes. I want to make certain they show up prepared. Can you give me the bottom line? What is your request and what's your intended outcome from this meeting? That way, everybody can walk in really prepared. The few extra minutes you spend handling the client's call is far, far less the amount of time that you spend fixing mixes, being copied on multiple emails, and still not sure of exactly what the direct request or the ask is. So that's number 3, run the day. Number 4, proactively over-communicate. Think of the locker room huddle before going on the playing field, and then the halftime speech, and then the end of game debrief. This is how you want to interact and communicate with your boss and the team. So here's what we have on deck today. If it all goes to plan and there is no emergencies, then this is what we will do with our extra time. Here's our bonus points. If for emergency, here's where we're going to need to pivot. Then midday check-in on how people are doing with appointment, who's running over, and then finish the day with your end-of-day snapshot report. I think we talked about that in last week's podcast, of really being able to over-communicate in a very proactive, strategic, adult way. For example, if you know they have a hard stop to be out the door at 5:10 to make it to their child's band concert, let's say, at 4:45, you knock on the door and help them start packing up their day so they can get out the door by hopefully 5:05, something of that nature. Entrepreneurs are serial opportunists. If they have 3 minutes before they have to leave, they will push every single solitary boundary to complete the most they can in that time frame. And inevitably, they find themselves safe. I am so guilty of this. I have to play so many games with myself and just enroll my team on that. With what I can get done in 5 minutes, or what I believe I can get done in 5 minutes, is every single time I look at the clock, it typically creates more disasters, and inevitably I am late every single time. And then I'm just lamenting about the thing I just started that I thought I could get done in 5 minutes, which is actually like a 30 or 40-minute task. And then I can't be present, and it's just causing a lot of unnecessary chaos. So if you're aware that something like it's your coworker's husband's birthday and they have dinner reservations that are 30, 40 minutes away, whatever it might be, and she's still stuck in a meeting with the boss or with the client or what have you, you can knock on the door and inform everyone they have to start completing to honor family commitments, and ask if there's anything you can do to help wrap up, make copies, schedule appointments, or be able to step in. And this we hear from team leaders and from employees all the time. I feel like I'm a professional babysitter. This is not babysitting. It is working cohesively as a team. It allows for flow and ease in the office. So at the end of the day, everybody feels victorious. You're able to go home and be present with your family and enjoy your evening without feeling stressed out and anxious about tomorrow becoming Groundhog Day. And you feel such a sense of completion and excitement because your team, everybody has each other's backs. And it's really refreshing for the client to see that. We get so much feedback when people start knocking on the door with the clients. Hey, anyone need a refresher on water? We have about 10 minutes before we have to wrap up. Hey, attorney, don't forget your child's band concert starts at 6 p.m. and you really need to be on the road by 5:10. The appointment might be scheduled until 5. Well, then the clients are just elated. You know, everybody loves babies, kids, and puppies. So they're like, oh my goodness, yes, by all means, get there. And it's really funny because a lot of times it really helps with the engagement rate as well, because they see that you are family first, that you have that work-life balance, and it really communicates to them that this is a safe place, this is a place of community and family, and ironically, that seals the deal more often than not. So that's number 4, proactively over-communicate. Number 5, weekly board of directors meetings, weekly stakeholders meetings. It's no longer about a team meeting where it's a coffee clutch and it's not very purposeful or intentional or driven like a board of directors meeting. This strategy is incredible for really being able to support and protect everybody's time, energy, and confidence. So often when we get the phone calls from law firms saying, I have absolutely no idea what the heck happened, but our cash flow hit the skids. I mean, we were making goal, and now we came to virtually a screeching halt. People are super stressed out. It's like a war zone in here. Everybody's feast or famine and just protecting themselves. Our client complaints up, whatever they might be. Our number one question is, tell me about your weekly board of directors meetings. Tell us about your weekly stakeholders meetings. And inevitably, we got so busy, we stopped doing those. We haven't had one in 3 weeks. Tell me a little bit more. Be honest with me. We haven't had one in over a month. We haven't had one in 5 weeks, 6 weeks. It always points back to that. I'll say, okay, here's the deal. Go hang up the phone right now. And the only change I want you to make is implement that meeting with unrelenting standards. Absolute. I don't care if the building's burning down. You walk across the street and go to Starbucks and conduct it. Do not violate this. Let's get back on the phone in 2 weeks. And then we'll have a conversation about how to fix your cash flow. But I need you to trust me on this. And sure enough, they get back on the phone and they say, we met goal last week. I don't know how, but we didn't do anything different. We didn't deploy a Facebook ad. We didn't deploy a new marketing strategy, but we're back on track. It always points back to that weekly meeting. That is like putting the oxygen mask on yourself. Can you imagine a superstar team or a rock concert or anything of that nature? You watch any movie, any documentary on any rock star, any musician, it's always showing you about the backstage, the huddle before they go on stage. Same thing with any sports analogy, anyone that you want to use out there. That is a consistent strategy in every single one of those arenas. So start scheduling a purposeful meeting led with intentionality as if it's a board of directors, not a team meeting where we have a coffee clutch and we're just talking about everything in the kitchen sink. This is a hyper-focused meeting where you move projects forward and make decisions. And it's a good thing. It's just not that never-ending meeting where nothing gets resolved that drives everybody crazy, especially the employees. And we know marketing brings out the worst of the never-ending meetings because it's a favor indulgence of every entrepreneur. So really being able to anchor to a very strategic agenda, and then you move on to a marketing meeting. Because using this meeting, your weekly meetings as a marketing huddle is a defense technique. When the boss comes in and asks you to talk to him about marketing center ideas, then you write down all the ideas and the discussion points, and the boss feels really, really great. And then you walk out, and then there's no follow-up. There's no next action. There's no project management around it. And then the entrepreneur loses confidence that they, quote unquote, tell people things, but they never get them done. And that's why, because they're not ran very strategically. So when you come across people trying to hijack the meeting, trying to always throw in marketing related ideas that need to be discussed, hold it for a designated marketing meeting. There needs to be that in place as well as your weekly board of directors meeting, your weekly stakeholder meeting. You'll talk about marketing in a very highlight State of the Union format, but we're not going to go into the depths and the belly of it because that needs its whole own separate meeting. And this allows for you to run it very strategic, very intentionally, very focused. So that's number 5. Without a doubt, weekly board of directors meetings. Number 6 is know your 3 most important activities. This goes for everybody in the building. Know and discuss your 3 most important activities. And you can do this in your weekly board of directors meeting, but also making certain that they are front and center for each person, which will support you and keep you anchored to your North Star during the week. And when emergencies pop up and or your boss or team members want to add to your weekly priorities or take you off course of your weekly and hijack your weekly priorities, you have the ability to clarify, okay, my top 3 for the week are X, Y, and Z. Do you want me to put those aside and put this at the top of my priority list now? Because I do want to remind you that X has X number of dollars attached to it that we'll be able to bring in this week when it's completed, and it's on schedule for tomorrow. And my second one has X dollars amount or opportunities or project completion attached to it that's on schedule to be completed by, let's say, Thursday or whatever it might be. And you do the same thing with your third goal. I want to confirm you want me to put all of that on hold. That level of communication is not only refreshing, but strategic. And that is our goal for you to be able to run your day with this level of mindset, intentionality, leadership, drive, and focus for every person in the building, whether it's the entrepreneur interrupting the employee or vice versa. And or when people come in and say, hey, client so-and-so has this emergency, you allow to run it through there and dissect and discern their definition of emergency and your definition of an emergency, which brings back to really that permission standards. It's one thing I would add to that list, thinking of this now, is that really making certain that you do have standards around what is an emergency and what is not by our level of definition, and how to redirect the clients so they don't feel like they're being shut down, but we're just being the experts. Number 7 is to schedule a high performance day every single month. So hopefully after this podcast, you run to the calendar and you schedule a reoccurring appointment for the next 12 months. Schedule a high performance day monthly. This is a day where you clear out the clutter, cleanups, tolerations sitting around your office that rob your energy. It's a day for every person in the firm. And I'm not going to go into the details and the ins and outs of that agenda and what it looks like, but you can go to our website and or just email us or contact us to get a copy of our Clean Office Clutter Workbook. It's a step-by-step strategy to be able to do that, but at a minimum, get it into your calendar now. Number 8 is creativity and growth days, and we highly recommend that you schedule these monthly. These scheduled days are to work on the growth of the firm, and we call these growth days. They're different than, say, your money days or your revenue days, which are days where you're meeting back to back with clients, existing and or prospective clients, giving presentations, doing networking, doing private presentations, community outreach, whatever it is that brings in money for you. Most people are in the personal service business that we deal with. So it's eyeball to eyeball, human contact, relationship contact, which are different than your construction days, which are days when your boss works on getting work done, documents preparation, typically touching paper, computer, and administrative things and getting that completed. Growth days and creating growth days and creativity days every month are when the firm gets together to specifically work on projects that will grow your business. It would be a new marketing project, new system, restructuring the organizations. And these activities are necessary, but it's crucial to have a scheduled time to work on them so they don't interrupt things that bring in money and work that needs to get done on the daily. Usually your boss is just like ecstatic, excited, over the moon about growth projects. So you really want to make certain that you give them this time to work on. I had an attorney always say to me, I need something fun to work on. I need something innovative, something that is attached to the future business that I can work on. So scheduling these growth days allows for everyone to get in sync with their schedule, be attentive, be ready to hit the ground running on projects. And there's some keys that we have for creating a growth day that we have on our website. And I'm not going to go into detail in spirit of time for this one. We highly recommend that you go and search in our bar under the our blog tab and put growth day in there, and it will pop up and give you a complete agenda for how to run that day. But that day is usually when people feel like it's Groundhog Day, when they don't have that, where they feel like they just own a job, where they can't get off the hamster wheel, where we can't get a consistent conveyor belt running in our business. And that's because of the absence of growth days and being able to work on the opportunities in the future of the business. So lastly, the 9 ways to support and protect your boss's time and energy and what's in it for you as the employee is to schedule a forced recovery day monthly. And it's exactly how it sounds. This is a full day of no work for the boss. Rest, rejuvenation to head off resentment and burnout and frustration. We highly recommend that the entrepreneur have a full day out of the office, not working from home where they have the ability to power away from the office and client work. So you can have a lot of fun with this once you enroll your entrepreneur into this. If they try to call the office or email you, you can have fun and bust them with that. Tell them if they work on their forced recovery day, they have to pay each employee that they try to communicate with a $50 fine. That's one that Lainey made up in her law firm, and it works beautifully and it creates a lot of fun. And same thing with the employee that tries to violate the entrepreneur's recovery day. They have to pay a $50 fine as well. So the ultimate goal with that is really, it is so the payoff to the clients and to the employees when the entrepreneur does come back from that forced recovery day is they are so invigorated, number one. And number two, they have a lot of ideas and ideation about the future. So one thing I would recommend is try to have that forced recovery day prior to having that creativity day, because their ideas and their energy that they bring to that creativity does not show up like crumbs or scraps because they've just been running so hard all month, but they come back with a tremendous amount of clarity and centeredness, I would say. So if you want to discover more about the 9 ways to be able to support your boss and to protect everyone's time, energy, and calendar and top priorities, please feel free to reach out to us, and you can go on our website and schedule a call and book a complimentary call with us. We would be happy to walk you through that in preparation for implementing this within your law firm.